You could be sleeping with an emotional traitor. In the stillness of a suburban night, a man lies beside a woman who once made the stars feel closer. Her breath is soft, her body warm. But something is missing, something silent, sharp and cruel. She turns toward him, says goodnight like she always has, but her eyes are no longer searching his. They're distant, like someone has already lit another candle in her heart, and he wasn't even invited. This isn't about drama. This is about subtle betrayal, the kind that doesn't scream but starves you slowly. It's not cheating in the way the world defines it. It's the slow withdrawal of passion, the invisible handoff of desire to someone else. And the worst part? She'll never say it out loud. She'll say soft things cloaked in innocence, words that feel harmless until they echo in your soul. And by the time you understand, she's already gone. Phrase number 1. I feel disconnected, but I don't know why. In a quiet two-story home just outside of Denver, Jack sat across the dinner table from his wife of 12 years. The pasta grew cold, untouched. She looked up, barely meeting his eyes, and whispered, I don't know. I just feel disconnected lately. But I don't know from what. Jack nodded, wounded but calm. He thought maybe she was tired, maybe work had been hard, maybe it was just the seasons changing. But it wasn't. Because when a woman says that line, it's not confusion, it's displacement. Her soul has already taken shelter elsewhere. She knows exactly what she's disconnected from: your touch, your scent, your laugh, your gravity. But to admit that would mean confessing she's begun to desire someone else. So she calls it confusion, disconnection, even soul-searching. But it's not. She isn't lost. She's transitioning. And she needs you to keep believing this is just a phase, so she doesn't have to be the one to say goodbye. This is not about blame. It's about clarity. Because when a woman's body still lies beside you, but her fire no longer burns for you, her presence becomes a ghost. And if you're not careful, you'll become the caretaker of a love that already died. Phrase number 2. I need time for myself. In a quiet corner of Portland, Oregon, there's a man named Eli who owns a little woodworking shop on Hawthorne Boulevard. Oak, cedar, mahogany. Every day he shapes what's raw into something lasting. But his marriage wasn't like that. One Tuesday evening, as the rain tapped gently against their apartment window, his wife sat down beside him on the worn-out couch and said, I think I just need some time for myself. She said it with calm, almost kindness, as if she were doing both of them a favor. Eli, like most good men, thought maybe she needed space to breathe, to journal, to find her footing. But what she really needed was room to drift. Because when a woman truly needs time to heal or grow, she doesn't leave. She invites you into the process. But when she wants time for herself, and her eyes have already stopped lighting up when you walk in the room, it's rarely about reflection. It's about rehearsal for a life that no longer includes you. She wants the freedom to flirt again, to test the waters, to stand in another man's orbit without the weight of loyalty. And if you don't see it, if you wait, if you stay, thinking patience will bring her home, you're not holding on to love, you're holding on to illusion. Reflection. The Stoics taught that clarity is stronger than hope, that a man must love, yes, but without becoming blind, because the man who honors himself doesn't beg for borrowed affection. He doesn't wait for someone who's already emotionally gone, just not brave enough to pack their bags. So when she says, I need time, let her have it. But don't promise you'll still be here, because you're not a waiting room. You're a man. And a man who waits for a woman to return from a door she already closed stops being a man and starts being a placeholder. Phrase number 3. Not everything has to be physical. In a townhouse near Savannah, Georgia, there was a time when Ava used to run into Mark's arms like gravity pulled her there. No reason, no planning, just pure electric hunger. Their laughter echoed through the kitchen. Her fingertips traced the line of his jaw like she was memorizing him for the 1,000th time. But that season passed. One Saturday night, while folding laundry in silence, Mark leaned in to kiss her neck like he always had. She flinched, not overtly, not dramatically, but just enough to freeze the room. And then she said it. Not everything has to be physical. She said it like a truth, like a higher form of love, as if what once held them together was somehow beneath her now. And Mark, confused, ashamed, wondered if maybe he was asking too much. Maybe he was shallow. Maybe he had turned into someone who didn't understand intimacy beyond touch. But here's the truth. No one told him. She didn't say that when she used to crave him, when she'd pull him into the hallway just because she couldn't wait until bedtime, when her body spoke louder than her words. That sentence only arrives when desire has quietly exited the room. Reflection. In Stoicism, we're taught to separate what is real from what is dressed up in illusion, and a woman's body will always speak the truth long after her mouth stops doing so. Because when a woman still wants you, there is no need for justification. Physical affection flows freely, not because it's required, but because it's irresistible. But when she tells you not everything has to be physical, she's not reaching for emotional depth. She's offering you an excuse, a bandage over absence, a blanket to cover the fact that she no longer burns for you but doesn't want to feel guilty about it. And here's the hardest part. It makes you question your worth. It makes you apologize for needing something that once was effortless. But love without touch, that's not sacred. That's performance. He didn't say anything. He just looked at her, with the quiet ache of a man who knew that touch was never the problem, only the symptom. And in that silence, something final settled between them. Not anger, not blame, just the recognition that the flame had already left, and only the smoke remained. Reflection. In the philosophy of the Stoics, clarity is compassion, not toward others, but toward the self. And the kindest thing you can do when someone says, "I feel disconnected," is believe them, not to punish them, but to protect yourself. Phrase number 4, you've changed too. In a quiet neighborhood in Louisville, Kentucky, a man named Caleb stood in the driveway of the home he built with his own hands. His wife, Lindsay, leaned against the porch railing with arms crossed and eyes that no longer softened when they landed on him. He'd been noticing it for weeks, the short replies, the late-night scrolling, the way she turned away before he could kiss her goodnight. So he asked her one evening, trying to bridge the growing gap. "Is there someone else?" he asked, not in anger, but in sorrow. She didn't flinch, didn't confirm or deny. Instead, she sighed and whispered, "You've changed too, Caleb." That was the dagger. Because when a woman is preparing her exit, she rarely takes responsibility. She rewrites the story so that when it all collapses, she can tell herself it wasn't betrayal, it was balance. Reflection. In the ancient Stoic tradition, there's a principle that says, do not take blame that isn't yours. And yet, most men do exactly that when they hear this line. They begin to reflect. Maybe they have been distant. Maybe they have worked too much. Maybe this unraveling is their fault. But often it's not. It's just easier for someone walking away to point fingers than to look in the mirror. To say, "You changed," is to imply that her desire drifted because you stopped being you. But the truth? She outgrew the version of herself that loved you, and she's too scared to admit it. That phrase isn't reconciliation, it's insulation. It softens her guilt so that when she finally breaks free, she won't have to mourn you, only justify leaving you. Caleb didn't raise his voice. He didn't plead. He just looked at her and said, You're right. I've changed. I stopped apologizing for asking for real love. I stopped pretending I was okay with half of you, and with that, he stepped off the porch and reclaimed something sacred, his self-respect. There's no peace in accepting blame for someone else's wandering soul, and no dignity in letting a woman rewrite your loyalty into weakness. So if she says you've changed, say thank you, because you have. You've finally remembered who you are. Phrase number 5. I don't want to talk right now. I'm tired. In the soft lamplight of a brownstone in Brooklyn, Daniel poured 2 mugs of chamomile tea like he always did after dinner. He walked them to the couch, setting hers down gently beside a folded throw blanket. The air was cool. Autumn had crept in, a season made for closeness. But she didn't reach for the cup or him. She sat with arms crossed, scrolling her phone, eyes half glazed. He leaned in, tried to speak, to ask what had changed between them, what they could do to find their rhythm again. She sighed without looking up. I don't want to talk right now. I'm tired. 3 seconds of silence. That's all it took for the weight to settle between them. Not exhaustion, not stress. Distance. And Daniel felt it like a curtain drawn in the middle of a conversation he didn't know was ending. Reflection. Men often confuse this phrase for kindness, for emotional self-care. They think it means, let's wait until I'm ready. But no. When a woman says she's too tired to talk, night after night, it's not because she needs space to think. It's because she no longer has the energy to pretend she's emotionally invested. Because if someone else texted her in that moment, if another man, the one who stirs her curiosity now, asked how she was, she'd find the energy. She wouldn't be tired. She'd come alive. What she's tired of is you. Not because you failed her, but because she's already somewhere else in her mind. And talking to you only reminds her of the emotional debt she no longer wants to repay. That night, Daniel didn't raise his voice. He just stood up slowly, picked up the untouched tea and said, I get tired too, but I don't shut down when someone I love needs to talk. Then he walked into the bedroom, not to retreat, but to remind himself that silence without love isn't peace. It's erasure. Reflection. The Stoics believed that silence must be intentional, but not every silence is strength. Some are surrender. And if a man tolerates being dismissed in his own home, night after night, hoping that patience will rekindle passion, he isn't being noble. He's being erased. Because no woman who loves you with her whole heart ever forgets how to speak to you. Phrase number 6. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. In a quiet corner of Austin, Texas, beneath the warm glow of string lights in their backyard, Ellie wrapped her sweater tighter around her. The night air was mild, but what she was about to say carried the chill of something final. Her husband, Noah, had just finished grilling. He poured her a glass of wine like he had every Friday night for years. She looked at him softly, sadly. And then came the phrase, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. It was gentle, measured. The kind of line that sounds wise in movies, like it should end in a hug or a graceful exit. But for Noah, it landed like a closing door in a hallway he never knew he was walking down. She said it like it was still love, but it wasn't. It was a benediction, a quiet burial. Reflection. When a woman utters those words, she isn't offering you a second chance. She's offering you a reason, a shield to hide the fact that her desire has died and she's already built new dreams without your name in them. I love you becomes a tranquilizer, but I'm not in love becomes the release. And yet most men cling to that first part, desperate, hopeful, as if love without passion can still hold a home together. But it can't. Because love, without the longing to stay, is not love. It's memory. It's mercy. It's a farewell disguised as care. Noah set down his glass, looked her in the eyes and said, "Then don't love me. Not like that. I wasn't made for half measures. I wasn't built for goodbye disguised as tenderness." And he stood up, not because he wanted to walk away, but because he refused to become an emotional ornament in someone else's unfinished story. Reflection. The Stoics never begged to be chosen twice. They believed that the only thing more painful than letting go was holding on to something that had already left you. So if a woman says, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you," know this, she's already left. What remains is a shadow. And no man should ever try to warm himself by a fire that's already gone cold. Phrase number 7. I don't know what's going on with you. In a sun-faded diner off Route 66 in New Mexico, Sam sat across the booth from someone he once called home. Her name was Jordan, and once upon a time, her laugh could unmake his worst days. Now she stirred her coffee too long. Her eyes darted everywhere but his, and when she finally looked up, she smiled, sweet, hesitant. "I don't know what's going on with you," she said softly, almost like a question, almost like an invitation. But Sam knew better. He hadn't changed. He still loved her in the quiet, steady way he always had. What had changed was her heartbeat. It no longer raced for him. She wasn't confused. She was curious about someone else. That phrase wasn't a search for understanding. It was a misdirection, a way to shift the emotional weight, to make him wonder, doubt, analyze himself, while she remained untouched in her new detachment. Reflection. When someone truly doesn't know what's going on, they reach toward you, not away. They seek closeness, not fog. But when a woman uses this phrase with a tilted head and half a smile, it's not confusion, it's calculation. She wants to keep you orbiting, wants you to dance in circles, questioning your words, your tone, your presence, not because you've done something wrong, but because she no longer feels the fire and needs to make you the spark that fizzled. It's emotional sleight of hand. And if you're not rooted in clarity, you'll think you're the problem, when in truth, you're just the placeholder for the next chapter she doesn't want to admit she's already started writing. Sam didn't fall for the softness. He leaned forward and said, "I know what's going on with me. I'm still here, still loving you. But maybe you should ask what's going on with you, because I think you already know." And he walked out of that diner with the kind of quiet strength you only earn when you stop explaining your heart to someone who's already stopped listening. Reflection. The Stoics taught that ambiguity is the enemy of peace. If a phrase clouds your soul instead of clarifying it, question not yourself, but its intention. Because a man who truly knows himself never chases ghosts in another person's silence. Conclusion. She may still sleep in your bed, still pour your coffee, still smile politely across the table, but if you've heard even one of these phrases, you already know her soul has started packing long before her suitcase does. And that's the truth most men refuse to face. Love doesn't leave in a storm, it leaves in whispers. But today you heard those whispers, and you didn't flinch. That matters, because this isn't about blaming her, it's about remembering you. You were never meant to be a backup plan, or a placeholder for passion long gone. You are a man with heart, presence, and gravity. And when you honor that, no woman can keep you small. So don't chase closure. Don't beg for clarity. Stand up, not for her, for you. Because when a man reclaims himself, even goodbye can't undo him.